Hi, and welcome back to the Self-Actualization in the Age of Crisis chapter analysis series. I'm your host, Ron Rivers, and in this series, I try and summarize the sections of self-actualization in the age of crisis for you in under 5 minutes. In this video, we're going to be discussing Chapter 1, Section, The Crisis of Information, Truth, and Trust. So the crisis of information, truth, and trust is really a result of our inhabiting systems and a wide network of systems that reinforce transaction as the primary form of human cooperation. The exponential expansion of information technologies and the further kind of platforming of these technologies that leverage the user as the product and seek to manipulate their behavior gradually over time have really begun to have dramatic impacts on the human psyche and individual time experience. In addition, our major media conglomerates have become propaganda machines that only serve to manufacture division for profit. And one of the core challenges of that is, in order to successfully do that, they must continuously push the boundaries of their sensationalism. An especially big problem with that is that approach furthers otherness. And the furthering of otherness is completely out of alignment with the single truth and the relational universe, hence why it represents a crisis to human transcendence in the age of crisis. Now, the systemic approach to binding information to private interests is not new, although we are hearing a lot more about it today. In the mid-1800s, the journalist William Gnap explained that the power of the press consists not in its logic or eloquence, but in its ability to manufacture facts or to give coloring to the facts that have occurred. Now, at some point in time, like in the United States, this was actually monitored. Actually, news sources were, under the fairness doctrine, were required to represent public issues from two different perspectives. So if you had someone arguing against immigration, hypothetically, you would have someone arguing for it in the same program. That was actually mandated by law. But in 1987, under Ronald Reagan, they repealed the fairness doctrine. And that is essentially the catalyst that brought us to the modern day propaganda machines that have now evolved. Also consider that with TV, it wasn't as proliferated as it is in the immediate present. TV was limited to what providers have what, and there was always specific times of airing content, so you could miss it if you were traveling, whatever. It wasn't on demand on your phone. So it's this combination of our technological ascendancy with the kind of increased profit motives and really the increasingly bold division that is being manufactured that really kind of drives at the heart of the crisis of information, truth, and trust. It's really about losing faith, right? We're losing faith in our institutions. We're losing faith in the other. And I think the combination of those two allows us to kind of, or really promotes the lack of faith in ourselves. Again, I want to emphasize that manufactured division and the spread of otherness is a dominion philosophy rooted in hierarchy and justified by the salvation religions. So again, we come full circle. The age of crisis is about a crisis of spirituality and meaning and value. And central to our problem is that our spiritual philosophies, our approach to how we value things and how we define meaning, is rooted in otherness by the most popular texts. And more importantly than the popularity is these are the texts that have influenced law and organization around the global population, with the exception of some countries, for example, China. Now consider also that having cooperation be rooted in transaction is by nature a relationship of subjugation. So what I mean by that is whenever we connect with another individual, there's always a risk of subjugation, right? It can be our employees at work, our bosses at work, our peers at work, people on the outside who we don't know, potential lovers, potential enemies, whatever the case may be. Every relationship has the risk and contains the risk of being subjugated. And in a transactional universe like the one we inhabit today, where all of the available systems, the legal, political, economic, and social systems, prioritize transaction as the highest form of cooperation, it puts us in a persistent struggle to resist subjugation and, in many ways, retreat inwardly. Our development of a new spiritual philosophy in alignment with the single truth and the relational universe is deeply rooted in trust in ourselves and trust in the other. To really establish this trust, we must reconsider what is and is not acceptable in the root frameworks of cooperation with the individual. Specifically, as we dive deeply into the text, rooting ourselves in a more cooperative form of organization instead of prioritizing competitive transaction.